personal story about the impact of the border crisis during Vice President Harris's interview with Bret Baier. She shifted the blame for the deaths of Americans killed by illegal immigrants who entered the country under her watch and seemed to struggle to give a compassionate response to victims' families, including the mother of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungare. She was killed back in June. The suspects, 2 illegal immigrants. Alexis Nungare, Jocelyn's mother, joins us now. I want to play that part of the Bret Baier interview with Kamala Harris in just a moment. But first, I want to say, Alexis, that our prayers are with you. And as the father of a daughter who's about the same age as Jocelyn was when she was killed, I can't even begin to wrap my head around what your family is going through and what poor little Jocelyn went through that night back in June.
Thank you so much for having me here. You know, every day is a new day. It's a constant reminder that she's not here with us. She's not in the grade she's supposed to be in. She's not making new memories like she should. It's been really hard on our family.
Oh, as I said, I just can't even imagine. But earlier this week, in his exclusive interview with Kamala Harris, our Bret Baier asked the vice president if families like yours deserve an apology from her and her administration. This is rather lengthy because it involves some of your testimony before Congress recently, but please bear with us while we play this out.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss, sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with.
That was crazy. Again, I think that I watched a completely different interview than a lot of these people that's on these social media platforms that's saying that she absolutely nailed it and she did well and she responded to the things. Look, first of all, the fact that it took a live interview from Fox to get this up out of them because they never mentioned any of the victims' names, including Lake and Riley, but they were so quick to jump on the Sonia Massey train. It's amazing to me, but that just tells me that they're not as compassionate as you think that they are. They're selling you on hope and joy and a lack of divisiveness, while at the same time dividing us even more, especially with Obama as a part of that campaign, which is one of the reasons they had to pull him off of the campaign and off of the rallies because he was making it look even worse. And the fact that she never even really took responsibility because it did happen on their watch. They are directly responsible for these people coming over here and doing some of the most egregious things. And then they keep on just trying to move the goalposts forward and say, well, but no, listen, I'm sorry that that happened to them, but let's move forward and let's talk about this. First of all, that's not even an apology. An apology is to say, you know what, I'm responsible. It's taking ownership and accountability and then acknowledging the people and the victims. And then you start to talk about how you need to make it right and how you need to do better as a result of it. That's not an apology. That's called trying to move and shift the narrative away from what you're communicating about. And again, I think that Bret did a phenomenal job in the minimal amount of time that he had, considering that she showed up late on purpose and that they were waving that they needed to have a hard stop really quickly, even though it's a national news outlet. But I couldn't imagine. I just couldn't imagine that happening. And you know, it's so funny because even Democrats themselves, I don't know how y'all call yourselves spiritual, Christian, Muslim, believers, whatever it is that you got going on, but that you still rock with this party that's clearly don't care nothing about you and is demonic. It's crazy to me.
With an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
So she says that she is sorry for your loss, but then she shifted Jocelyn's story to Trump. What do you think about that?
I think she's completely full of it. She is not a sincere woman at all. She has no sympathy, no empathy to her. She's supposed to, if she wants to run this country, she needs to take into consideration the families that she has affected with these policies that she has allowed and that she has approved. It's unacceptable that she gave me a very empty, half open apology to thinking she was being sincere, to just shift like she always does in every interview, every questionnaire she has to somehow shift it over to Mr. Trump, and that makes absolutely no sense. Why can't you just take accountability like you should and actually try to make a difference, maybe be humane and actually reach out to families that you have affected?
So we have been told time and time again by DHS, by the secretary, by officials at the White House, the border is secure. The illegal immigrants who are being paroled into this country have been vetted. They pose no national security risk to the country. Yet we now find out from investigators that they believe that the 2 illegal migrants from Venezuela who are allegedly responsible for your daughter's death were members of the notorious gang Tren de Aragua. Are you wondering, like many other people are, how did they ever get released into this country if that was their background?
It's always made me wonder, yes, because why put a ankle monitor on them in the first place? Was anything noticed? Did anything come abrupt? I always now for sure wonder, why did they need one now that this new information has became knowledgeable and has came into the light? It really makes me wonder, why were they released? Why? This should have been something that was immediately thought of, them being Venezuelan natives, and it just proves more that them being what they did so heinous was intentful. And this is
Could you imagine? Could you imagine losing a child, let alone a daughter, to a gang member, a gang member that wasn't supposed to be here in the first place? I just couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine having to deal with that and live with that burden for the rest of my life. And it was nothing that you did wrong. It was everything that had something to do with something that was way, way, way above your pay grade. It's insane, bro.
is the people that we so continuously decide to let in this country because of her open border policies.
The testimony that you and fellow victims of immigrant crime gave before Congress was just so compelling. And then there was this moment where Democratic Congresswoman Veronica Escobar suggested that you and your fellow victims were being exploited with your appearance before Congress. That led April Aguirre, who is a crime victims advocate, to have this exchange with the Congresswoman. Listen here.
It's insulting that you would say that to these families, that you would make an assumption that they're being used or exploited anyway. Not one time when her daughter was murdered and I was helping her navigate the criminal justice system did one Democrat call me to offer their assistance. It was only Republicans, and I am an independent. I vote both ways. So it's insulting. No, please don't speak over me, because I'm still talking.
Okay. Responding to your
I'm not done. I have the mic. I have the floor. I have the floor. If you want to answer me, you ask.
Alexis, what did you take away from that exchange and the fact that the Congresswoman tried to suggest that you all were being manipulated and exploited?
I think it's very inappropriate with it being such a sensitive matter. If I had the option to be used, quote unquote, for how she said, for political gain, for others to get what they want, and then instead choose to have my daughter back and essentially be a nobody, I would always choose that in a heartbeat. I do this to continuously be my daughter's voice. I do this because my daughter fought incredibly hard her last moments of her life. And I will be damned if I don't fight hard the rest of mine for her.
That's your administration. That's the current administration that's currently in the White House today. When you ask yourself, what's happened over the last 3.5 years, also consider this woman and what happened to her daughter. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, get your tickets to come and kick it with me in person. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.